I'm speaking to you today from Tucson, Arizona, in the southwest part of the United States, on the land of the Tohono O'odham, Pasquayaqui, and other indigenous peoples. In December 2019, just before COVID ravaged the world, my parents bought my boys and I an 8-inch simple Dobsonian telescope, one of those indestructible ones. I'll never forget their gasps as over the spring, we explored craters on the moon, the rings of Saturn, and the fuzzy blobs that I assured them were the birthplace of stars. As we entered the virtual world of COVID and the kids' horizons shrank to the four walls in our backyards, the telescope became the inspiration for my 8-year-old son's art and creative writing projects. Looking up gave Cole an infinite view of the universe and a greater understanding of his place in it. And at the time everything was shrinking down, his eyes really expanded. But a year before, all this would have been impossible. Unlike Tucson, which has worked hard to protect its dark skies, the cities of the San Francisco Bay Area in Northern California, where we resided for many years, shine brightly all night long. Unbeknown to us at the time, we were among the 99% of people in Europe and the United States who live under light-polluted skies, many, like us, in a state of perpetual twilight. Now, over the past 100 years, the rapid expansion of outdoor light at night has transformed our cities. I think it's important at the start to acknowledge the advantages that have come with that. The extension of our daily lives into the evening hours has in many ways enriched it. But as we all know, it's come at significant costs. As we will discuss over the next 24 hours, we have really blotted out the stars, a trend that has accelerated in the past 25 years. One of our board members, Alejandro Miguel Sanchez, recent study showed that in the last 25 years, light pollution has grown up to 270% globally, and in some regions, as much as 400%. Now, at a time when the planet is facing multiple crises, the climate emergency, habitat destruction, eradication of indigenous knowledge, the widening social inequalities, and of course, the ongoing pandemic that continues to claim so many lives, why should anyone care about rolling back light pollution? As we will hear and as we'll discuss, light pollution is both a symptom and also a significant contributing factor to many of the challenges we're facing today. COP26 closing today, for instance. The extinction crisis, estimated 600 million birds in the United States alone die from colliding with brightly lit buildings at night. Light pollution is also helping to drive the decline in insects, and 40% of bug species are predicted to be lost within a decade unless we act. Even fish and coral are not immune. Of course, climate change, as much as 200 billion kilograms of CO2 are emitted each year to light the night, and we'd have to plant billions of trees to offset that. Human health and well-being, in addition to harming the environment, bad light is simply unhealthy for many people. Cultural heritage, light pollution has been likened to a form of cultural genocide. Erasing the night sky erases indigenous stories and people's connection to these stars. And of course, scientific discoveries. Dark skies have led to some of the most remarkable discoveries that have enriched society, and we hope that it will continue for centuries to come. These issues are extraordinarily complex, and in some cases we lack clear solutions, or the solutions come with significant costs. But light pollution is different. We know how to solve it, and solving it saves money. And it doesn't mean turning off every light and being plunged into medieval darkness, as one of my colleagues, Martin Morton-Taylor in the UK, mentioned to me recently. But it does mean that thinking about natural darkness as a precious resource, and that artificial light should be used in a manner that minimizes its negative effects. Now, we can do this by following widely embraced principles and committing to using light at night responsibly and equitably. These were embodied last year in our joint statement with the Illuminating Engineering Society about 5 principles for responsible outdoor lighting. This was the conservation side, the engineering side coming together and say, look, we have shared understandings here. Light should be useful. It should be targeted where it's needed. It should be at low intensity. We simply overlight too much of the world. It should be controlled. It should be on when it's needed and off and dimmed when it's not. And we should use warmer color lights wherever possible. We need to design with darkness in mind and only add light where it serves a useful purpose. Once the decision has been made, we should follow these steps. To use an analogy, I'm teaching my 4-year-old at the moment how to brush his teeth. We don't leave the faucet on all night just because we're going to come back in the morning and brush our teeth. We turn it off when we're brushing our teeth. We turn it on when we're rinsing. Really, that's the same approach that we should be taking with light. Use it where we need it and turn it off, dim it when it's not needed. Here's a classic example of where it all goes wrong. 24/7 surveillance lighting in New York City. Just as areas of natural darkness are unequally distributed, we are starting to understand how light pollution itself is distributed unevenly, even in individual cities, with marginalized communities often subjected to high levels of light pollution. Solving light pollution also requires us to address this issue, ensure that everyone has access to quality light at night. Everyone deserves good lighting and natural darkness. Fortunately, though, through the work of dark sky advocates around the world, we have a growing number of places that are embracing dark sky protection and quality lighting. Just last month, we celebrated the 20th anniversary of Flagstaff here in northern Arizona in the United States as becoming the first international dark sky place in the world. Now, in the past 12 months, the program has grown really strongly. And we now, in fact, we have 190 places certified in 22 countries. We project we will be pushing 200 by the end of the year. And equally exciting, we have 185 places that are in process across 26 countries. So it's really becoming part of a strong global movement. And one of our wonderful colleagues in Germany earlier this year published a paper that showed that it's working, which is really exciting. And over the past 5 years, our grassroots network of advocates has grown 500%. Sorry, the last 3 years has grown 500%. And boy, has everyone been busy. You'll hear many of their stories over the next 24 hours. In India, Abhishek has persuaded officials in Nagpur, population of 2.4 million, to use the dimming controls on the new lighting system in the city. And as he described at 11:30 p.m., he literally saw the lights go down and the stars come up. In Pittsburgh, Diane Turnshek has been helping with the city to pass one of the first dark sky ordinances in a large city in the United States, showing that dark sky protection isn't just for small remote communities. It works in large cities as well. And in Argentina, Alejandro has been working with a number of nature reserves to change out their lighting. And the local cats are paying attention. I'm really excited about this one. They saw a 50% increase in large cat sightings after those changes were made. This stuff works. But all this progress could also be in vain unless we simultaneously address a fast emerging and new threat, space-based light pollution. To borrow from the late Peter Douglas, a fierce defender of California's coast, the sky is never saved, it's always being saved. In May 2019, observers around the world responded with shock as they watched trains of satellite process across the sky. By 2030, it's projected that as many as 107,000 satellites will be in low Earth orbit. New models indicate that satellites may also increase the levels of sky brightness through the integrated impact of thousands of reflected sources of light on diffuse sky glow. By one estimate, background sky brightness in dark places may increase by 250%. At that point, every place on Earth, even the most remote dark sky reserve, essentially becomes a degraded sky where only half of all stars will be visible to the unaided eye. We'll have literally lost half the stars if this projected scenario plays out. Now, at that point, the impact of this new form of sky glow likely extends beyond human appreciation of the stars to impact entire ecosystems. We really just don't understand this. We don't know yet, but we can see that future. Society is just starting to grapple with how to remove plastics from the ocean, carbon from the atmosphere, or how to restore tinderbox forests that have been ravaged by fire. Are we destined to make the same mistake with our use of near-Earth orbit? Now, over the next 26 hours, I think 26 hours, we're going to be engaged in a conversation. These issues about ground-based light pollution, about quality lighting, and Aparna's going to talk more about space. My hope is that by working together, we can find ways to unveil the night